Everyone, I know it's been a while, but I am back with another Fables and Readings. I actually still need to do a walkthrough of this, but it means putting it all back in order, which won't be hard, but I am so much in love with this deck. Very, very much. I still have this is one I keep the little white book out and next to me because I like to see what nuance, why, because I do talk a little bit about the actual image, and so I like to see that. So we're going to do another one. I know it's not November anymore, but I'm really liking doing these, so we're just gonna, whenever I feel like it, pop one up, because why not? Okay. I am going to do this one over here because I believe actually we already did this one. It might be a different one. There's a lot of fox and cock ones, I think. We're going to do this one. The Old Man and His Sons. An old man had several sons who were always falling out with one another. He had often, but to no purpose, exhorted them to live together in harmony. One day he called them round him, and producing a bundle of sticks, bade them each try in turn to break it across. Each put forth all his strength, but the bundle resisted their efforts. Then, cutting the cord which bound the sticks together, he told his sons to break them separately. This was done with the greatest of ease. "See, my sons," exclaimed he, "the power of unity. Bound together by brotherly love, you may defy almost every mortal ill. Divided, you will fall prey to your enemies." The moral of the story being, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Of course, this is a wonderful, I think, message to all of us, right? This idea that we are stronger when we are working together. We're stronger when we're unified together. We're stronger when we aren't putting each other down or tearing each other down or being unsupportive to each other. We are far stronger as human beings when we do support each other and sustain each other. Doesn't mean we always have to agree with each other in the details, but that our goal is for this sense of unity and for this sense of common support, commonality in terms of support. Supporting of each other is always going to make us stronger. I think that this can also be something that you can read in a personal way. If you think about a house divided, right, being able to stand stronger, I think that can also go to your own internal self. When you have a lot of divisive energy within your mind, this comes up a lot. Certainly for other people that I read for, as well as for myself, this idea that, you know, sometimes our minds are our worst enemies and it wars against itself. And so when we are not of sort of like mind even within ourselves, that can cause us to be far more weaker than when we take the time to sort of set our internal house to rights and set ourselves so that our mind is supporting our heart and our heart is supporting our mind and our actions are being supported by our heart and mind and vice and our actions are supporting our heart and mind. That type of energy, which for me the Lover's card actually reflects, right? It reflects making choices and decisions from a place of wholeness for me. So the Lover's card is less to do with love and more that idea of the higher conscious, the conscious person in the man and the subconscious in the female. And it's that idea of when we make a choice or decisions that is in alignment with all of ourselves, that this is where we're at our strongest in making good decisions. The same thing comes from, say, the Strength card, right? Instead of warring against our primal self or I can't speak today, or fighting against our civilized intellectual self, when those two things are in balance with each other and in harmony, then you have that strength that comes forward. So I don't think it just needs to be a community question. It can also be that question of being of a unified mind and a unified heart within is going to make you stronger as you are sort of navigating life. I apologize for, well, I don't know how much will be picked up, but they are working upstairs to, you know, redo it. When one person who had been in there for a long time moved out, I've given up trying to work around them because they're working around the clock to get it probably ready for another person. And so I just have to, you know, go forward. So if you hear clunking and bumping, it's not Isabel running into a wall. It is simply workers upstairs. So here we have the beautiful World card. Look at that. But what is this about? Harmony and everything coming together. So that certainly makes sense. The middle card here we have as the Six of Cups. And then the last card here we have the King or Queen, I would say the Queen of Coins. I do still sometimes have to check and see. Yeah, the King, it has a crown that looks like this, whereas the Queen has a much more open, wider crown here. So we have the Queen of Cups, or of Pentacles, I'm sorry. What I like about this is there is a sense of, now I'm going to see what they have to say, but the Six of Cups generally has that idea of nostalgia, right? It's about kind of going back to a better space and seeing the world with fresh eyes. This looks a little bit more along the courtly nature between two people, so I'm just going to peek and see. A couple meet on top of a hill. He wears a top coat and gives reverence to her. She seems to stand in mid-curtsy as if she were thanking him for the time well spent. So this is about recalling those fond moments. They do put it back to that. So it could be somebody who's been in a relationship for a while together and they're thinking back about those moments in which they've just met. They're both being gracious to each other. You know, before relationships get really long and we get complicated, there was a simple time of just meeting and adoring each other. So I quite like that as well. There is just, and even the simpler time, even in a modern sense, when you look at this, you know, and you have that whole question of course, women are perfectly capable of opening their own doors. But, you know, we miss sometimes, especially if you're like me and you grew up in a generation in which it was still, you know, primarily a gentleman would certainly open the door for a young lady. Those kinds of things are niceties, right? Social niceties that we can sometimes look back on with fondness when you're 50 years old like me. So we have that sense of nostalgia there. But how are we going to read this here with this idea of a house divided? This could be that idea of remembering when you were much more solidified in your path and solidified in your relationships, even family relationships, or a one-on-one relationship where together you were really strong. And you might need to have that remembrance of what it was like to not feel divided, whether that be in a community group, whether that be in a relationship, whether that be within your own self, to be able to be reminded of what it feels like to be solid and to be strong. And I think that these two set that stage because this really shows the World card is about how well the world, again, external or internal world, functions when we are in balance and in harmony and everything has come full circle. So we have these two cards in my mind sort of say, remember when. Remember a moment in which you did feel that sense of solidarity with the community and supporting each other. And it may have fallen on the wayside and been some tearing down or some ways in which people haven't been. But this is sort of a reminder that says, remember what it feels like when we all stand together in support of each other. Remember if you're in a relationship that has become divisive, can you step back and think of a time in which you were stronger together and then start to find your way back to that? And again, from an internal space, You know, can you remember that time in which everything was going right, the world was in harmony, you knew your own mind, you knew your own heart, you knew your way forward, and you had that sense of solidarity and strength within you. First step might be remembering it and remembering how powerful that is, so that you can then start to navigate back to that space, which I think that the Queen of Pentacles is reflecting, right? So the Queen of Pentacles, for me, I always go back to Marie White from the Marielle Tarot when she talks about the queens as often coming up as a message of setting your environment so that that suit energy can grow. So if we're looking for strength and stability and solidarity, which certainly the Pentacle or Earth suit speaks of, the Queen here is saying that the way back is to start by setting your environment so that has an ability to grow within yourself, clearing the slate, setting an environment so that you can sit down and work out what is your mind and your heart, what does it look like to you if your heart and your mind were together on one playing field, and your actions were reflecting that, and your actions were supporting your internal space. What does that look like to you? Setting up an environment so that that has the ability to grow even stronger. In a relationship, setting the environment, the parameters of the relationship, setting the parameters of the physical world around that relationship so that it can start to move towards solidarity. In a greater sense of humankind or community, a same sort of thing. How do you start to set the world so that it supports that? So I really like the way that these cards work together in terms of this particular message here. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful day.